Yeah, I got one of the old ones.
Yeah, we can talk about it. I'm from Carolinas,
Yeah,
and
right.
I live in Charlotte, but I'm originally from Ireland,
Where?
County Cork,
I've been there.
southernmost tip.
You know, have you ever seen Road Bowling?
Yeah,
Isn't
rowboat,
that
yeah,
amazing?
bowling, yeah, with the, yeah.
You know what
Straighten
that
up my
is?
name.
It's where two villages get together on either side of the road. And they put the young men up front and they throw stones.
Yeah, well, actually iron walls, no, but yeah, they bowl them now with
Whoever
iron
throws
balls.
it the fewest times.
From one town to the other, yeah.
You can.
There's some fun involved in that.
Oh, yeah, they were all
If
there.
you go in the
All
Congress,
right,
so like
thank
when
you
I
so
go,
much.
like I have to go
Okay.
up to DC 2 weeks and go like meet with different members of Congress and stuff. But like when you go in the Senate, when you go in there, you say to the secretary, because I'll go in with like a group of like 5 people or whatever. And then I'll just like whisper to the lady at the desk, and then she usually gets like she can't
I
say
got
it
one
out
for
loud.
that interchanges.
Because then, like, she'll have to give it, yeah, because she'll give it to, she can't give one to everybody, but it's like I have one from Dan, I knew Dan Forrest really good, and I got one from him. And I got one from, the governor of Pat McCrory, Roy Cooper.
I guess we're ready.
Just gotta ask the right person.
So why you had to go up, you go with
Golf,
members.
yeah, it's like, for whatever day in May, it's like May 10th is considered, I think, it's National Golf Day. And so we go and talk about the importance of golf and stuff like that from a economic standpoint, and then also like chemical restrictions and stuff like that. EPA type stuff.
That's good.
I'd like to call the order the meeting of the Highlands Town Board of Commissioners for April 20th, 2023. Commissioner Dotson will not be with us tonight. So the next item will be a moment of silence. Will you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Would we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda will be public comment. Excuse me, before I do that, statement of conflict of interest. If anyone has a conflict of interest on any of the items that we'll be covering tonight, I'll remind the commissioners they need to express or declare it.
Mr. Mayor, I see that LS3P, that stands for Lucas, Stubbs, Pascal, Powell, and Penny, is on the agenda for your resolution about the school. And I have a business relationship, have had a business relationship with them, and I'm very familiar with the contract that there's so much discussion about.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next item will be public comment. I invite the public now to come and make a comment at our podium. And if you'll please state your name for the record and hold your comments to within 3 minutes, we would appreciate it. But I will certainly now open the floor for any public comment. Hearing none, let's move on to the next item, and that will be to review and approve the agenda. And I know our town manager does have an adjustment to the agenda to be made. Josh?
Yes, after the resolution number 12, I'd like to add a budget amendment for the town entry sign frame replacements.
Okay. Any other changes or adjustments to the agenda?
Move to approve as with changes noted.
Okay, do I have a second? All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
All right.
Thank you very much. Our next item will be to approve the March 9th special meeting minutes. Do we have any corrections, additions, or clarifications to those minutes?
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please raise your hand, say aye. Thank you. The next item would be the approval of the March 16th regular meeting minutes. Do we have any additions, clarifications, or corrections to those minutes?
I had a couple of things.
Okay,
If I can find it real quick here. Long minutes. Okay, this is page 49 of the agenda. This is the number 14 HM squared revocable license agreement. I believe Matt Mason he may have been representing HM squared, but he was from Tate Landscaping.
okay.
And I don't have in this minutes, I don't have a motion to approve this revocable license in a vote. I don't see that. And I also don't see anybody who would sign this revocable license agreement. We have signature for you, but there's not the signature for the other party.
Gibby, do you have any comment on that?
I do not have my notes with me. I think that when it was presented, I think it just had the mayor on it. I'm not sure.
You mean the signature?
The signature.
That's kind of standard procedure, yes. But I'm just talking about the person that made the motion to approve.
It must have just got cut off in my, and I don't have those notes of who voted.
I don't remember either, but it's recorded, so I'm sure she can look it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But I still think,
I have it in my notes. I just.
Why don't we have it that she'll go back and listen to the
I
recording?
still
and
think it
put
needs
it
to
in
be
there.
somebody who's actually would sign for HM squared because it's a license agreement between two parties. And the person who presented it was not an employee of HM squared. It was an employee of Tate Landscaping. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Right.
And so we don't know that they know anything about it. And Dana may not know what this contract says if we're not sure that they do that. And the only way we can be sure is have them sign too.
Okay.
Doesn't that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Can we hold this till the next meeting then, the minutes?
Michael, do you have a comment on? I think you worked.
Yeah, I talked to just Jim and Matt on it. I hadn't talked to anybody from H Square, but what I can do is send them an email. I've got the contact information. Just get them signed.
The thing is it's a revocable agreement. Okay, they may not know it's revocable. You know, they may just think we'll agree to do that, but if it's a revocable agreement and we need that utility space, we'll go take it out.
Yeah.
I need to know that. I need to know that they know that.
Yeah, I'll make sure that we've got something for that. And I guess we can bring something back to the next meeting that shows that they signed for it. They acknowledge that.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they know, I just think it's important that they know and that we know that they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want this reflected in the minutes? Your concerns?
I think so.
Well, if you're gonna bring it back, that's fine. I think we just need to know what the vote was and then
Okay.
I don't know how you have to handle. Gibby will know how to handle that.
She'll
Gibby
go
and
back
Josh
and
can
add
figure out
that
how to handle that. Yeah.
contingent on our approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others?
Yeah, and the very next item, number 15, the 106 sidewalk easement quote. It doesn't actually say what the $5,500 was for. I mean, it was for on the private land, right? It wasn't the whole thing. It was just what was on the easement for
Shelby Place.
Shelby Place. And that never says that in here.
Yeah.
I think it's just a clarification. It just needs to say that that's what it was for.
Okay. Gibby, do you have that down
Yes.
to include that? Okay. Any other changes?
I think that's all I had. Yeah, that's all I had.
Would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Patterson, on approving the meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion with the corrections and clarifications.
Okay. Have a
Second.
second? Okay, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, the next item will be reports and it will start with the mayor's report. So let me just go over a number of things that have been going on and what I've been doing. First of all, I want to thank everyone and all the organizations that worked in the this past Saturday for the plateau pickup. We picked up about over 6,000 pounds of trash on our corridors in town, including construction material, landscaping material, things that people purchase at the ABC store, at the grocery store, at the gas stations. We really have a problem of people throwing things on the side of the road and not, keeping them in their vehicles and disposing of them properly. I'm going to be talking in the future about maybe some of our businesses, such as the ABC store, might want to become involved in making small contributions to help us maintain these corridors by having volunteers with the equipment and everything to do the pickup. I want to thank, though, the chamber, Tina Rogers, especially for coordinating the volunteers and putting on the pickup. I want to thank law enforcement, our Macon County Sheriff's Department, our own Highlands Police Department for their work in trying to slow the traffic down. I want to thank the U.S. Forest Service. They brought a truck up trying to pick up the bags of trash. And then I especially want to thank our sanitation department, Larry Holt, the direct head of the sanitation program. He always works with us, and there are just tons of trash and mounds of bags around our dumpsters that we put out. And Larry always makes sure that those bags of trash are taken to the landfill without delay. So I appreciate everybody's work on that that effort that we had last Saturday. Also on Friday, that's tomorrow, at my community coffee at the Hudson Library at 11 o'clock. We will be having a featured speaker, Dr. Gary Wine of the Highlands Land Trust, who is about to retire this summer. He'll be coming and talking about land management, environmental stewardship, and things that are very close to his heart. So I hope people come out and listen to what he has to say and ask questions about our future in the way of preserving this beautiful environment. The other thing that I did, I had a meeting this week with a representative of the Homeowners Association up at Little Bear Pen. They've been working with the chief and have been trying to raise money for a radar warning sign as they exit their subdivision. I know the chief is trying to find maybe some possible funding of that. I'll keep everybody apprised. And the homeowners have raised money to see if this warning system cannot become a reality. Unfortunately, DOT, while they talked about how it could be done, they have not expressed an interest in partnering with us on that. I also met with Lake Silver, who is the field representative for our new congressman, Congressman Edwards. We had a good meeting, and Lake is going to be coordinating an information van. The new congressman has this health van where he will have staff, and they go from town to town. And I've assured Lake that when it's time for Highlands to host that he can even park near a town hall and have that van open, so people that need help with federal issues of Social Security, Medicare, and everything, they can just come up and the congressman's staff will help them out. So I think that's going to be really a great program. Then finally, Josh and I next week will be traveling to the League of Municipalities annual City Vision meeting. It will be over a 3-day period. I think sometimes people think that elected officials just love to go and have a big time at these conferences, but really they're very informational. They're great opportunities for networking to find out what's happening in Raleigh. And you need to know everything you can about what's happening in Raleigh. I just heard the other day that there's been 1,500 bills filed in this legislative session. And I know that the Mayor's Association and the League of Municipalities are tracking several of these major bills, and we'll be getting information about what the status is and what would be the impact of these bills if they become law. One in particular, Senate Bill 667, deals with STR regulation. We have been anticipating that to occur, that a bill would be introduced into the legislature this session, and it has happened. Another bill, House Bill 409, accessory dwelling units, would allow dwelling units in residential areas attached or serviced and connected with utilities from primary units. One thing that disturbed me about that bill was the setbacks would be 5 feet from the property line or an existing setback, whichever one was shorter. So that will be one. Another one would be Senate Bill 317, workforce housing. Apparently that bill would allow, if you have 10 acres or more, workforce housing, regardless of the type of housing and where it is in a residential zone, if it meets certain criteria. We'll be looking at that one. And then the one that everyone, all the mayors, I'm a member of the Mayor's Association, and when this came out, there was an immediate reaction, and that is Senate Bill 515, water rates outside of the town. We use a system where we've always had a double fee for people that receive water that don't live in the town. This bill would limit that to 25%. And many of the mayors and towns have already expressed concerns that that would really be a problem if that bill were to be passed. But we'll be at the conference trying to get the skinny and information about what potentially will be impacting towns and cities as the legislative session moves forward. So that's basically all that I have. I know I've been going a long time here, so I'll now turn it over to the commissioners. If you have any reports or updates, please let us know at this time.
I had 2 things actually.
Okay.
Okay. First is, it's a question for Lamar. It's, you were going to do the boring for the 2nd Street.
I'm gonna ask you that.
Have you had a
Okay.
report on that yet?
Thank you. I didn't have that then.
Okay, so we don't know what we're doing yet. There. Okay, I just want to make sure. And second thing was, I forgot, I had another thing in the minutes that needed to be corrected. Sorry. This is on page 41. It's after the contract with the Charisma Radio. This is on page 41, so this was number 10, but it's back when Commissioner Hayne had a motion to approve the least 2% increase starting at $650. And that one was withdrawn. We were discussing, and then Commissioner Dotson had exactly the same motion, and I don't think it was exactly the same motion.
No.
I think it was a 3%. But it says 2% in the minutes here. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I don't remember, but I think it was 3%. Give.
Okay, I'll have to listen because I have it written down too, but I'll listen.
Yeah, but there's no reason that both motions should be the same, and one of them was withdrawn and the other one wasn't. Anyway, I think it was 3%, but I want you to check that, okay? Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need to reapprove the minutes with that additional update, correction, whatever you want to do. Sorry, I forgot the first.
That's
thought I
okay.
had it all.
Why don't we just do an amended motion?
Okay, I'll move the approve the minutes of the regular meeting for March as amended this time around.
All right.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Any other updates?
Sorry.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Commissioner Hayne has advised me that I overlooked something.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
heard you had a very good meeting one day,
Okay.
Karen, and I know you're part of that team and you're all making great progress. And I don't want you to tell us everything, but
Okay.
I'd like you to tell us what you can.
All right. Lester, our recreation director, Lester Norris, and I have been attending a committee. It's a task force of concerned organizations, several churches and daycare operators here in the Highlands area. We've been having meetings to address the issues of daycare. How can we improve the access of daycare? And there's several levels of that. One is, of course, infant care in the Highlands Child Care Center. They carry the load on that. And that's a very specialized area, and they have a big waiting list. And then we talked about the pre-K and issues with that. I know the Literacy Council has a plan to try to implement a pre-K program, not on necessarily a long-term basis, but a temporary type of approach soon. And they're looking at the ways they can do that. And then the other area that was discussed was after-school programs. And that seems to be a very critical need. One of the people that attended the meeting was the director of the Boys and Girls Club at Cashers, and they've had a very successful program. To follow up on that, we had discussions about the need for after-school, what would be a possible role with the town and so forth. We have looked at, for example, replacing the Houston House. And Josh Ward and I just simply yesterday got in the car and went over and met with Carmen and her staff at the Boys and Girls Club at Cashers. We were very impressed with their facility and what their programs are and what they're doing. And I'll just leave it at, we'd like to continue talking with them. There might be some possibilities of them providing a service like they do in Cashers here in Highlands. So these are a lot of different ideas that are going on. I know the Episcopal Church has expanded their child care, program in recent months. I attended the opening where they had converted 2 rooms to classrooms to serve the daycare needs for children. So we're making progress on it, but then there's a lot of things that need to be done in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next report would be from our town manager, Josh.
The engineering and environmental report for Dog Mountain is complete. It was submitted to the state last week. I talked to Withers Ravenel today. They said it will take a minimum of 6 weeks to get reviewed through the state. It could be a whole lot longer than that. It could be, right around that time period. They don't know. They've had a couple come in early, but some of them have taken 2 and 3 months to review. So with so many projects going on in the state, we don't know, but it'll take at least 6 weeks to hear something back from them. Also, he said he wanted to go ahead and send in a contract for the design phase so that they can go ahead and start doing some surveying and stuff. So you'll be seeing that probably at the next board meeting. Also, the Friends of the Founders Park will be trimming the arborvitaes inside Pine Street area there on both sides of Kelsey Hutchinson Park in a few weeks. So you see somebody in there trimming, that's what they're doing. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. All right, our next item would be the consent agenda, which was sent out in the packet. Does any of the commissioners have any questions about items that are in the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda that's presented.
Second, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. That's unanimous. All right, our next item will be Hotwire Communications update. Part of the contract that we have is that we will have, updates every year. And we have Sue Kelly of Hotwire here today with her staff, and she is here to give us an update on where Hotwire is with their broadband program. So Sue?
Should I turn
if you-
sideways? I hate that my back is to.
Either way.
Either way?
You're good.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm not from the Carolinas. Speak a little bit differently, but I have been in the United States for 35 years. So raise your hand if there's any words I'm throwing out there that, don't resonate with you. But I'll give you just a quick story of Hotwire in the Carolinas, which directly speaks to coming to Highlands. And I used to say the Highlands, but I was educated on Highlands and cashiers. I used to say that. Cashiers, is it? Not cashiers, right? So we're getting the enunciations right here locally, and we're being educated. I have a lovely staff with me. Sue Galetto is my Vice President of Service Delivery and Operations. She will come up and talk a little bit to the maintenance and integrity of the network. Mike Hall, who oversees sales and marketing and storefront, great job there. If you get a chance to stop by, it's been newly renovated. We're almost moved in. We went in there temporarily. And then we have Stephen Kovachev, if I pronounce that last name right. He's my right hand in the Carolinas for property management. And that will relate to the bigger story that I tell you here. For those of you in the room or who may be online who don't know about Hotwire, a 20-year company out of Florida that have now emerged in the Carolinas are also emerging in California, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. So I bring that to your attention to bring the credibility of Highlands and what we're doing in Highlands currently and what we will do in Highlands in the future. Long story short, when we kind of received this market, I'm here 14 months. My staff is new. We had about 8 people in the Carolinas total. We have a cable system and a plant in Salisbury, North Carolina, of which, again, 8 people running around the state working cable systems. It was a very interesting package of an organization to receive. That being said, in the 14 months, just to kind of give you a quick snapshot, we have brought on 25 direct reports as my immediate staff. Obviously, a lot of my leadership with me tonight, and I have more leadership down in Charlotte, North Carolina. We opened a headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. We opened a storefront here in Highlands, which we want to plant the flag very intentionally. And obviously, we revamped some things up in Salisbury, North Carolina as well. We added in total about 50 employees in the state relative to what we call dotted line. So we would have guys in Georgia and we'd have people up here coming in and supporting the system from the standpoint of work that we have to do. So the growth you would see, to give you an idea of the credibility and how we move forward in the Highlands, would be when I came, we had about 8 or 9 properties and 1 cable system. In 14 months, we now have 2 cable systems and 12 properties. And by the end of this year, we'll probably have 26 properties and 2 cable systems. And when I say properties, an example, as you drive in this way, Lake Kiwi, 847 lots over there, 470 homes connected. Our model is to go into properties and do a full configurated network, fiber, not fiber and infrastructure, but fiber to your home. So when we say we're bringing fiber to your home, you'll have the essence of everything that kind of bandwidth will bring, from a gig to 10 gigs as we future-proof the properties we're in, and then obviously the 2 cable systems we're in. We talk about cable systems in a separate way to properties because when we're in cable systems, we have single subscribers, meaning each one of you will choose to have our service. As my father used to say, hands up who wants ice cream, hands up who does not want ice cream, right? It's a different proponent than going into a property and having everybody engaged in that. So the journey here at Highlands has been phenomenal. The agreement was arranged, and I thank some of these lovely faces, Josh and Matt, who have endured me, and Matt's better half back there, who have endured us through the years, and obviously the mayor as well. Thank you very much for that. In taking an agreement with the city and then executing against it. We definitely were delayed when we came here first. May was, I remember Josh and Matt saying, well, you're installing in May. I was like, really, I am. We had a lot of catch up to do. But as we put bodies to the project, and I will tell you, we had a lot of, as we'd say, Irish fun, very direct conversations with the lovely representatives of your town of Highlands, really just to get things sorted. So we staffed up and we got ourselves to the table, a little bit delayed, but as we got ourselves sorted, we now are fully processed from the standpoint of how we go through the system up here and how we deliver service. High level, we've brought on a couple of hundred new single subscribers. So we have a lot of new customers, obviously, that have trusted us to be their provider. We have a point to multi-point network that we inherited. We have invested significant funding into that to take it to the next level. But I don't want to live on that. I literally want to take every single person on that, bring them over to fiber drops right in, give them the same provision that the fiber brings, anywhere from 1 gig to 10 gig, whatever they would want as a retail choice. That is in progress right now. Sue will give us a kind of a rundown on some of the maintenance and network stuff that we're doing with respects to that. And we're migrating those people over. We're so committed to giving you guys good service. Once we get to the end of that, I don't want to say end of life, but looking at that point to multi-point, there will be some homes that we will not be able to reach with fiber, can't go through some rock, can't get over some mountains. We will look at a resolution for those guys. Because I certainly don't want to put anyone in a situation where they don't have good provision service from our perspective. So that being said, I know there's also been a request from the standpoint of what we call plant maintenance, but it's basically your network up here and sharing information with the town, what has been done, what has been invested, and how we're going forward to enhance that network. I have to run those things through legal, just in case I say something that I shouldn't and I'm supposed to take back. So I'd probably have that resolved for you guys. I know, Josh, you've been pretty persistent with that, probably in the next couple of weeks. I think, Sue, if you want to come and take, it's Sue to the power of 2, by the way. We're two sisters here doing a lot of work in the Carolinas, but Sue is my right hand from service delivery and operational. So I'll step aside and let her just give some delivery on, or some sentiment on what she's done there, maybe a little bit of the timeline. And then I'll step off to the side and I'm open to taking any questions you may have, either online or anybody in the room. So Sue doesn't have an Irish accent, but she's got a lovely American accent. So I'll let you know.
Mine isn't as lovely as yours. Mine is more of a New York, although I've been removed for quite some time. So yeah, to follow up from what Sue was saying, as far as the timeline, I believe it was September 2021 when the agreement was signed. Sue came on board in January. Over that time, Mike came aboard, I came aboard. And then, yes, the original agreement, I think, or the timeline that was said was that we would launch in Highlands in May of last year. The head end was not ready at that point in time. And then ultimately, the first place that we launched in Highlands was in the community of Ravenel, 32 lots, but there were 23 homes that we connected to. And that took us through July and then into August. And then it was at the end of August where we started doing installs within the single subscriber market. I believe you received a very lovely, and it's in this presentation, which I will get to give you so we can get this out to everybody. But we did, I am showing in there a lovely letter that was written from Jim Hatcher on Sassafras regarding the install and everything that we did there. As far as the folks that we added coming into Highlands, now there are 7 full-time employees, that are local to Highlands. There's another person, Luke, that comes up from the Atlanta area for any commercial installs. And then, of course, we're, Mike and I are definitely here every month. Sue's in probably every quarter. And then other supervision as folks come in. As we do more communities, so we're getting ready to launch the Highlands Mountain Club. So that's another community that, as Sue said, took our service in a bulk capacity. So we're planning next week to do a soft launch there. And then the following week, we'll start to really get installed all the year-round residents there. And then as other folks come back. We're gearing up for the season, certainly over the time last year, like we said, we have a couple of hundred new subscribers. And then what we're ready for is what Sue was talking about as far as the wireless network and doing conversions. Over the winter months, we made an effort to get out there to get the drops run for there's approximately 88 or so customers that were on the wireless network that were in where the network was built. And those were the customers that we went after. So we have We've converted, think about 30 of them. I think we have another 50 ready to go. And that will hope, as people come back, we'll be able to get them scheduled. So this way we can get them installed. We have more folks, obviously, that were in network, but we're not fully built out to them. So we need to get into neighborhoods, bury the entire neighborhood, do that. We'll be really assessing that this year to see what we'll be able to take on to do, and then also try to plan a lot of that to do throughout this year, and then get into that, maybe even working some of those over the winter, depending on what it is we can do, but definitely committed to getting off of the existing fiber network to meet the commitment that we have within the contract. And then to Sue's point, there are, within that wireless network, about another 70 customers that we're looking at other alternatives and building out. So this way we can try to service as many folks as we can and get them off the wireless network. Trying to think. Is there- Okay.
So the last thing I would say to just summarize and then open it up to be peppered with questions if you have it. Look, a beautiful community, right? I come from a beautiful country. I come up here and my mom says, what's it like up there? I did bring her up. I'm like, Mom, it's like Ireland, but it's in the mountains, right? Beautiful community. I have to say, we really enjoy coming up here. But the thing that strikes me most of all, and I think, it's one thing just doing business and executing your work, but it's another thing to be passionate and emotional about what's going on in the communities that you're in. And what I love about Hotwire is they speak community, right? And I remember as we were up where people were saying, well, it's seasonal for me because I don't have data. And everybody's working from home now, right? We all have that. And like what I like to do is put people in a predicament that they only leave the Highlands, not because they don't have data, but because the snow gets on their nerves or something like that, right? So that's the ultimate end game. We have challenges. It is a very difficult terrain. And my personal experience, and we've built cable systems. Sue's got stories with Verizon and many years of Time Warner Cable. I did 17 years with them. Mike was with me 10 years there. We got a Comcast man. We've been through this in a very extensive experience way, and we've built out systems for thousands and thousands of residential subscribers and B2B as well. This is unique. And what I learned, imagine, we're learning all the time, is it's a longer burn. With those installations, so that the thing we commit to you is being as transparent as we can. The timeframes to installation, it's not a 2-week gig, it's a 45-day type of situation. And we've got to be very careful with utilities in the ground as well, that we don't do any damage, and we commit to leaving your home the way we found it, so with respect to that. So I'll stop about my lovely passion up here in Highlands and what these lovely folks do. Couldn't anyone else do that I couldn't do with my do. We love people stopping by the store. I got to know some really neat people up here with respect to that. Any questions for me? Any concerns? Any complaints? You can talk us in. No.
Well, and so it's part of the contract that, Hotwire agreed to do the underground portion, which I think is about 17% of the total town. And you got off to a start where you did the underground up at Ravenel and everything. Where are you on the underground? And from your presentation, you're being surprised about Mr. Rock that's everywhere in Highlands. But would you give us an update on where we are?
I think that's an excellent question. We're fulfilling and being compliant with the contract, probably a little bit slower than I like with respects to that. I would say the numbers that we just shared, taking everybody off that point to multi-point network, I thought we'd have the velocity of minimally 10 a month, maybe we targeted, but we're at 50% of what we anticipated that we could do because of the terrain and the challenges. It's just slower. It's not that it's not being done. So would you say percentage-wise, do you want to answer that question?
Well, yeah, so in addition, and not so much the training, because certainly, like you spoke about, we have the community in Lake Kiwi, similar there. A challenge that we had was various contractors that we used, but we, over the winter, brought in a very large firm that we use down in Florida. We're using them in Salisbury now, and we're using them here. We're able to get a lot more done because we have consistent work. We have a contractor that likes doing this work, finds it challenging and rewarding. So that's a very good thing there. be honest, as far as the underground, we know that, and what we're doing is really devising a plan. The same with the issues that we had, and full transparency, I mean, last summer when it came in, and then when we started to have the issues with the point to multi-point network, that was where a lot of our focus went to bettering that system. And then also, let's really start to work on getting to the customers that we can get to get them off of that and get them onto the fiber. So this way we can provide a better experience. With that, I don't want to stay behind us because we still have, customers to move and everything, but with a handle on that, that's where now we are taking a look at the neighborhoods that we do have, the communities that we do have that, do have an underground component to it. Because what we're, a big part of this, we have a lot of people, calling in requesting service. So I was going to do, because in order to build those things, we have to go in and build the entire thing. So we want to go to communities where we have the most interest. And that's really a big part of this year. And we didn't get a full feeling for it last year because of the fact that we were having a lot of customers call in starting in May when we had the website up and started to really advertise and do all that and get some. So that's where this year now, just this point, without really having the data, now we're pinpointing that on the maps, and then we'll prioritize out where we're going to go first and get that built. But that is definitely, we're committed to doing that, and it's now putting the plan, we've been putting the plan together, and now it's like, okay, now we kind of need more people to come back so we can see where we need to go and do that.
Okay.
So and the one thing I will chime in there, high level, because, for the community in general, you'll hear us say bulk and you'll hear us say single subscriber. So for example, I'll give you an example of Highlands Country Club, right? We looked at the entire entity and all the sub homeowners associations. And we do bulk agreements where we actually just go in to an isolated area and we build out a network for them, and they go on a bulk agreement with Hotwire, and it would be, a separate thing. That's easier to do because there's a commitment, there's a contract and whatever, whereas that when we're in a town or in a city or whatever, we want to look at that. It's which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? We build the infrastructure, and then, like I said, it's hands up, who ice cream, right? But I will absolutely tell you that the point to multi-point network, the bane of my existence, calls on the weekend, whatever. I know people personally who are on that network, wonderfully patient people, very, very helpful. Might know some of them on first name basis. I knew I was meant to be in the Highlands when I got the godwink of this network is I couldn't believe, right, the situation, and we did our homework. We figured out the network, and we got the hardware, and we found the guys who oversee the hardware, and we found the guys who could actually access the hardware remotely and get software so we could look. Guess where they were located? India. In County Cork, Ireland.
Oh, my goodness.
So I knew this was meant to be. So there's just a funny story in relation to that, but to be honest, the quicker we solve that, the easier life is for us. There's nothing going in here that isn't fiber overhauling the network configuration. We're doing it right, we're not going to do it wrong.
Okay.
And
Can I just add that the underground build will accelerate as the residents start to return. Because right now, I've never seen such seasonality of a ghost town. And I'm convinced in about a month, we're gonna start seeing a lot of residents now. We can't get a hold of it. That we don't have their address, or excuse me, we don't have their phone number or their email.
anything?
Other questions?
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. The lease provided that you would provide a maintenance plan
Yes.
for the fiber in September. And I'm very glad to hear that Josh is pushing you for that.
Yes.
And I'm very glad to hear you're going to have it soon.
Yes.
And I've heard someone say that you thought it might be proprietary. And if there is, there's a way your attorney can send our attorney, when we get one, a DNA and a non-disclosure agreement,
Yes.
and I can sign it. But I am very anxious to read that.
It is done, it is created, it is intact. I literally was sending it out the door to my lovely friends in the Highlands when they said no filter through legal. But I hear you, Mark, loud and clear. I think it will be in your hands or in my legal office within the next.
I took a friend of
Without
ours.
any non-disclosure
Excuse me?
provision without any
Well,
non-disclosure?
I'm literally going to say, I want it now because I was up in the Highlands the other night and
Okay.
I'm going to give it and you can sign a non-disclosure. but we're-
Was September, but I'll tell you a funny story. You ready for this, Mayor?
Mhm.
I took our guide from county court to a Clemson football game. And you know what he said, Mayor? He couldn't believe that his friends wouldn't believe he was pulling for orange men because he was Catholic.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Good start.
All right.
Yeah, Mark, I'll take that offline. I'll have that sorted for you guys, because I know we had that ready a little after September, and don't blame Josh.
But
That's on our side.
he's the point man here, though.
This guy is all in my Kool-Aid, as you would say. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? I would say thank you to the two lovely people in the back there, because I know you tolerated a lot early on. Sue, if people keep calling me down to town, I'm going to give them your phone number, so thanks to Matt and his lovely Mrs. over there.
I did give him your phone number.
I know you did. You said that you emails too, that I'd like to get you right now, you should take me to dinner. Anything else? Anything else? Guys, we love it up here, help
All
us
right.
to help you, give us feedback. You know, we're not perfect, but we're making a lot of progress, so thank you kindly,
Thank you so much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Next on the agenda would be the water plant testing update. Lamar Nix.
I was asked to update you on the testing at the water plant. In particular, some of the items
Be quiet on there.
that we test
Alice.
for,
Alan,
which are in the hundreds,
Alan,
have exceeded. As you well know from the
just a second, just a
NOVs.
second. Okay, okay, go ahead.
Anyway, I'm here to update you on, I guess, those few that we have that have exceeded. We've had to do public notice, I think twice now, Josh.
Yes.
And explain to you what they are and why that happened. And there were HA5s, trihalomethanes. It's something that we test for quarterly. And back late summer, we had an equipment failure in the pre-clarifier. And I want to stress it's the pre-clarifier, not the storage tank. It had nothing to do with the project that we're looking to design. It's actually before you get to that point. They had a mechanical issue in that. The guys ordered the part and were told we'll have it within a couple of weeks. So we drained the tank, we cleaned the tank, got ready to change the drive chain that was broken. And it took, unfortunately, with the supply chain as it is, much longer to get it, to the point we searched another supplier and now we have a spare. But during that time, 2 of our quarterly samples came through. And we took a hit that exceeded the parts per billion that you were supposed to have on that. And the way that those things are measured and actually what they go by is not that particular incident, because it's not uncommon to exceed at least 1 quarter out of the year because it's really driven by hot weather. So you expect an August, to exceed. The way the state looks at it, and actually it's EPA, you have a rolling quarterly average per year. So when you take a hit, it takes several quarters to get that out of your mathematics. So we took that hit in August before the chain could get back and get everything back installed. We had another quarterly. We took a exceedance on that one. Not that it's that far out of line, but it was, and mathematically it messed us up. It's going to take some good quarters to get back in line. What have we done to correct that? Well, we replaced the part. So before we took quarterly samples in February, I took a bunch of, or had the guys take a lot of non-regulatory things that you do just to test your plant, test the parts of your plant, make sure you don't have issues that you're not aware of. So we took quite a few non-regulatory compliance samples, both out in the system and within the plant itself, to make sure that we weren't creating an issue inside the plant. We weren't. It's just, unfortunately, we had equipment failure. And the February regulatory samples were taken and we were back to normal, well under the issue. So I just wanted to give you an update. We've had those. That's why we had it. Going forward, I think we're good. But it may take a little time mathematically, the way that's calculated, to get out of that cycle of paperwork.
So we were over the limit for how many months? We've been 3 months,
It's 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
And that's behind us and actually has been for more months than 3. It was fixed in November.
Well, I've read the notification and everything, and I know it says that these agents can cause cancer. But it also says if this level goes on for a period of years, that's where the potential for causing cancer occurs,
Yeah, we're talking.
not much.
Yeah, we're also talking about parts per billion too.
Yes,
It's pretty
okay.
low level, but that's where that is.
Okay. Any questions of Lamar?
Just want to make sure we're giving him everything he needs to update the water plant. And I've been concerned for a couple of years.
I'll hit you up for more money in February.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Lamar. Appreciate it. All right. Item 11, resolution of support for the Highlands School. In your packet, you have a resolution. I want to bring up a typo that I noticed, LS3P. I had LS3. To be quite frank, I drafted this. I've been, following the issue about the capital improvements at the Highlands School, the pre-K rooms, the extra classrooms, updating the media center, and all of the things that are needed to be done. I was concerned that the architects in their contract that had been passed for $329,000, I believe in December, that had been suspended. And, I know that we're not in the education business as a board, but I wanted to present to you a resolution of support for the Highlands School, and it calls for the county to consider reinstating that contract so we can, or that those improvements can move forward. And if the funding is appropriated this year, or, well, it won't be this year, but in the coming fiscal years, that we'd have those designs ready to go. And, to be quite frank, we're looking at a lot of improvements to the Macon County educational school system. And I don't want to see the Highlands School come up short with the improvements that our young people need. So I'm going to throw it open for discussion. And I know Commissioner Sherrill is here with us tonight. And if he would like to weigh in on the proposal, I'll be happy to, turn the floor over to John if he'd like to do so.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Commissioners, thank you. Josh, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just to give you an update on as I was elected and sworn in to office, the Highlands Pre-K was brought up last year, mid-year, after the budget process and everything else. And it did not run through the school system. We have 2 elected boards here. We have the school board and we have the county commissioners. In my mind, it's unethical for us as a county commissioners to tell the school board or the school system what the needs are. So in December, we elected Chairman Higdon, or Commissioner Higdon, now Chairman Higdon, and he made it perfectly clear in his statements that we were going to prioritize spending. And we're also going to adopt a budget and live inside that budget. So in October, the previous board approved a contract with LS3P for $329,000 for what was known at the time was Highlands Pre-K. And I question that because of, it should have been Highlands expansion because it's not solely the Highlands pre-K, as the mayor stated. So once that contract with LS3P was suspended, we got a lot of calls and emails and stuff questioning why we threw away taxpayers' money by canceling that contract. We did not lose that money. We have the schematic drawings in the county for the Highland School expansion. But this contract with LS3P was broken down into 5 phases. And at the time of dismissing this contract with LS3P, and I'm just going to give you what the way this contract with them was broken down. And phase 1 was schematic design phase. That was 10% of the $329,000, which has been done. We have the schematic drawing. They had actually started phase 2, which was the design development phase. That's 15% of this $329,000. And once we get into phase 3, we are in a full-blown contract for completion. And that's construction document phase. That's 35% of the contract. Procurement phase, 5%. Construction phase is 30%. And the closeout was 5%. Had we gone any further with this contract, we would have been in a full-blown contract for completion of this project. So it was handed down to the school board to prioritize the school needs. And they came back originally with a list of 1A, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3C, and that's not really what we were looking for. So they came up with some emergency needs, which was the Nantahala wastewater treatment plant that has to be fixed. They also came up with the sewer gas leak at Macon Middle School. No idea how much they were going to cost. But then they came back at us with the Franklin High School project as being the #1 project for the Macon County school system. We're talking about $118 million. We have no idea where those funds are coming from. If we borrow the money for this new high school, including $15 million out of the fund balance, it is going to max out our borrowing capabilities for 5 years. And we are going to have to raise taxes 4.5 millage points to do so. And if you look at the tax, all the people that have appeals in the tax office, people are upset about their reevaluations. People are upset about paying more in taxes. So we have to have a serious conversation about this on how we're going to fund this #1 project, Franklin High School. And we have also stated to public and to the school board, had this project for Highlands School expansion been #1, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But as a commissioner, it's the school board's responsibility to identify this. And I, in public session, I asked the chairman of the school board, what time frame are we looking at for the Highland School expansion? 5 to 10 years. Okay, that's what the chairman of the board said. They also said that we all know it's very important for Highland School. We're not denying that. But what we are denying is the fact we don't have the money right now if we're going to spend $118 million for a high school. Now, in saying this, On a positive note, I met with our state leaders and talked about a lot of issues. The $50 million grant is now a $60 million grant. And the House budgeted many hundreds of millions of dollars more into help building schools. So I have my fingers crossed that we may luck up and get this grant to help us build this new high school. But through this process, I really and truly think that you as a board, I'm not telling you what to do or the general public. I think going after the county commissioners for this is in the wrong avenue. It's really the school system's responsibility, and that's what they did. Now, we've been questioned also about we voted to defund this before the school board met. Yes, we did, because we met the day before the school board did. The liaisons met with the liaisons of the school board, and that's the plan they came up with, was the 5 projects. And I'm just going to give you an idea of what we're facing in this year's budget cycle. Projects recommended for fiscal year 24 funding consideration. Franklin High School project, $14,175,455. That's project number 1. That's phase 1 of Franklin High School. That's the athletic complex. Highlands Middle School renovation, $670,000. That's 2A. Macon Middle School track, $600,000, 1B. Nantahala Sewer, $425,000, emergency. Macon Middle School sewer vent pipes, $350,000, emergency. $16,220,455 capital expenditures in addition to annual capital outlay. That's what we're facing right now, above our normal expenses. We're not trying to deny anything that's needed. We just have to be real about what we can afford to do with this money. And one other thing I'd like to point out with this, affordability, inclusion of the $118 million Franklin High School project as the top priority in the Macon County Capital Improvement Plan assumes the county will spend $14,175,455 in 2024 and $104,244,778 in 2025 to complete this project. In moving this project to the forefront, numerous capital projects, both school and non-school related, including a new senior services center, classroom expansions at SCC, Highlands Pre-K project, were reprioritized in an attempt to make Franklin High School project number 1 priority, as affordable as possible. It is important to note reprioritizing these projects, such as the senior center, have been submitted annually for inclusion since 2018, as required by the county commission. Now with this $120 million school project, everything that needs to be done is on hold. So I respect everybody and your interest and Highlands. I mean, my kids grew up here, went to Highlands School. It's a wonderful school. But somewhere along the line, we only have so much money. And we're not ignoring and we're not denying the need. It's just, where do we get the money to do this? But we have not wasted money. We have the plans. The schematic drawing is in the county's hands. Okay. Any questions?
Sounds to me like y'all are trying to, at the benchmarks and the LS3P contracts, there's like a scope. And then you get the first scope and you look at the budget and you have to say, well, we've got to rethink the scope. And it just seems to me that's where you are.
Mhm.
You're trying to rethink the scope of what you want to do and how you can afford it.
Right.
And you can't go ahead with what you had planned initially. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's.
And how would the sales tax would have helped a lot with this if that had passed, wouldn't it?
the sales tax is going to 1/4%, which a lot of the surrounding counties would have created close to $2 million for this. But the problem with that is we could not say that that money was for school projects or anything. We could not earmark that money for that problem or for that purpose. It had to go into the general fund, and it lost a lot of people's trust as to what that money would have been used for. So we're working hard to try to get this stuff. I was out at, and just changing the subject just for a minute, the county needs are great. I was at Zachary Park today looking at the building out there. It's in desperate need of maintenance. So are a lot of our county properties. So we have to look at all this as a big picture.
Any other questions?
So,
Commissioner Sue?
John, did you want to comment on the land that you have no plans for 1.3 million that the county just decided to when the Highlands project would have been a 1.3 million in
Okay.
the general fund, and Commissioner Higgins or Chairman Higgins says they have plenty of money in the general fund. We need to spend some of that.
That's correct. What happened, and I'll just give you a little history back. I was on the planning board for Macon County when we were tasked to find 40 to 60 acres for a new high school. Nothing less, nothing more. So we identified some properties, and then of course, I guess it got leaked out and the prices of that property went up and stuff like that. So don't get me wrong, LS3P has done an absolute beautiful job designing a building for the high school property. But in my mind, it seems like we are cramming stuff in. So I've questioned about purchasing land that's adjoining for this school, because I don't believe we have enough room. I've questioned, do we even have enough parking here? We don't know. I mean, I asked Mr. Boney that very question. Looking at the plans, it looks like we don't have enough adequate parking.
So there was no like research done on that? I mean,
Well,
you just bought the land like out of the blue or what?
The 1.3 that,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about the current property that we own with the high school. It does not look like we have enough parking. And when I asked Mr. Boney on the current site,
Yeah, what's this have to do with the property you just bought?
because they're looking at buying property to make this property
Yeah.
big enough. We need more property.
So you're.
We
Well, I
have
understand, but
20
you're saying you don't think there's enough property, but there's different kinds of studies you can do to find out if you need more property.
That's what LS3P is doing now that we have finished the contract with him for this design and everything. But looking at the plans, the way it's positioned on the current property of 20 acres, it does not look like we have adequate room for everything that's going to go on that property. So we're looking at property, trying to make this property work for the new high school.
So you're going on ahead with $118 million project that you don't have enough property for.
No.
That's what you just
I'm not
said.
committing to anything. We have a lot of work to do, but I'll give you a rundown. The way the grants work with the state now, you have to be groundbreaking ready in order to
Right.
qualify for that grant. So we approved that LS3P with the design and everything, so that if we do qualify for this grant, we're ready to go. We're ready to go with phase one. And I believe phase one's going to go whether anything else does or not. But if we don't get this grant, I'm not sure that we as a county can afford to pay $100 million for a new school.
Let me interject. I went to several of these public meetings. There's always been the concept that if more property could be acquired for the present and for the future of that high school, that if there was an opportunity to buy surrounding property, that would be something that would be done.
But
And
I'm
so,
not saying that that's not a reasonable thing to do. I'm just saying at the time that they decided not to do the Highlands pre-K, they didn't know they were going to be buying property. So they cut that off with
Yeah.
plenty of money apparently in the general fund to do it if they wanted to. And believe me, high school is important, but pre-K is probably more important in the long-term future of the kids. Okay. And everybody else in the county has pre-K, or there's several in
well, there's a few.
Franklin.
There are 90 students in pre-K in Franklin. I mean, if you want me, I can give you a rundown on the pre-K system as it works. If you,
No, I'm
just for a few minutes.
John,
I
I'm
mean,
just saying, Highlands has always felt like, I mean, you've lived up here for years.
Mhm.
You know, we've always felt like we pay a lot of the taxes, we get the leftovers. Okay, and
Well-
I'm not saying that the Franklin High School doesn't need to be renovated, but I'm saying if from our perspective, pre-K for us is probably
okay.
a huge
I think-
priority, and pre-K
Mhm.
is a priority,
Okay.
more so than the athletic fields at
I
a
think
high school.
it's really important that I just want to tell you what we have done in, just real quick. Fiscal year 23, local funding for teachers, assistants, custodians, and clerks. Franklin Elementary Schools combined, $945,814. Mountain Valley Intermediate School, $90,000. Macon Middle School, $174,170. Franklin High School, $174,864. Early College, $24,531. Union School, Union Academy, $44,640. Highland School, $1,055,405 of county tax dollars has come to Highland School. For teachers, assistants, custodians, and clerks. 122,000 come to Highlands, or comes to Nantahala. So Highlands, and if I may, capital expenditures 2013 to present, system-wide, 1,610,000. Franklin High School, 33,257. Macon Middle School, $10,516,235. Union Academy, $1,596,886. Highlands School, $3,054,417. South Macon, $3,266,689. Highlands is receiving county funding. But here's the real thing with pre-K. Pre-K in Highlands, 36 students. And it's been questioned, but this came straight out of the Board of Education. Out of the 36 students that would attend Highlands pre-K, only 2 of those children have been identified for state funding. The other 34 would be private pay. State of North Carolina, it was $475 per child. They've increased that to $495. If you had a total private pay for pre-K in Highlands, if all 36 children were private pay, it would cost $671 per child per family to go to attend pre-K. The state says $495. That's to break even with 2 teachers, 2 assistants. If there is a special needs child in pre-K, then you have to have a special needs teacher. Now we're talking 5 teachers. So there's a lot more to this pre-K. It's not funded by the state unless that child is identified as special education needs and stuff like that. 90 children in Franklin go attend pre-K. It may have gone up now. 69 of those children in Franklin are paid by the state. 21 are private paid. In the report that I got from the Board of Education, this year alone, I'll get this out here. Pre-K in Franklin, they are $155,000 in the hole. They don't like saying in the hole, but it's costing the taxpayers $155,000 for the 90 children in Franklin for pre-K. So a lot of people think that the state just pumps the money in, the teachers and everything else. So I can't speak for the school board, but I question the fact of where are we going to get these additional teachers? The whole problem with this childcare thing, my kids all went to Miss Gordon's. They attended after school at the Houston House. I know very well the issues and the problems that Highlands families face. I understand it. I lived it. So we're not denying that pre-K or Highland School expansion. We just got dumped $118 million expenditure in our lap. And we have to really think about this, but at the same time, I look at it, I ask why the Gordon Center did not replace Miss Tate. They couldn't find anybody. If we can't find somebody to replace Miss Tate, how are we going to find 5 teachers, 4 teachers, 5
The
teachers?
Gordon Center still runs.
It does, absolutely. But that's what threw it all in the tailspin. When Miss Tate announced she was retiring.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had many conversations with Jimmy Tate about this thing and everything else. And we know the need.
And I don't think that our resolution does anything except reiterate that we really feel that the need is there and that y'all should consider it.
And we hear you as a commissioners. But I think that if you could put a little fire with the school system and say, hey, put pre-K in Highlands #1, Highland School expansion #1, we would not be having this discussion. But we have had to put everything, all capital improvement projects on the back burner because of this $118 million project.
The $600,000 for the improvement at the Macon School, did you include that in your budget? Because that's a state grant.
Yeah, it was the Highlands Middle School renovations.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and I have it all here. Highlands Middle School renovations, North Carolina repair and renovations, 100% funded.
Yeah.
Macon Middle School track, 109,000 athletic facilities grant, plus 621,853 remaining in middle school funding. Renovation project contingency, replacement of middle school track with remaining renovation project contingency has been discussed since the project began in 2019 and requires no new tax money.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I
Okay.
wanted to ask
Thank
one
you.
more question.
Okay.
You said the sales tax would have generated $2 million a year.
That's what it was projected.
That would only service the debt on like 30 million a year. So you got a huge shortfall,
Oh, yes.
because I thought the sales tax was going to pay for the high school. It
Oh,
wouldn't
no,
touch on
that's
that.
what a lot of people thought, and there was no way. And that was the whole issue, that was just a little portion of what the high school, we were still, the way that the finance director presented this. We, at 5% interest, at 20 years financing,
Mhm.
we would have to raise, even with the sales tax, we would have to raise the millage rate.
Oh,
8
yeah.
points.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Any other questions of Commissioner Cheryl?
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
I agree with Amy. I don't think there's anything negative or just to send this. we're just stating our case and saying that, we want this to be considered regardless of who's, whether it's the school board or whether it's the county commissioners, ultimately the county commissioner. So I'll make a motion that we move ahead with this resolution.
Okay,
I'll second.
I have a second. Do we have any further discussion?
What's the possibility of, since John is saying that they want the Board of Education to make this a priority, what's the possibility of changing the resolution to say that we request the Macon County Board of Education request the Macon County Board of Commissioners reinstate the contract?
Well, ultimately, it's the county who
I think it's the county's
decides what they're
responsibility.
gonna fund and not fund.
They removed it or stopped it.
But you hear that the Board of Education never asked for it. That it came after the budget. I think that's what John just said. Isn't that what you just said, John?
I'm not saying anything other than the fact that we should be supporting the pre-K program.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's what this resolution says.
Certainly, we got two.
Whatever the timeline was, or who asked for what, or anything else, it's that Highlands needs to pre-K.
And then prove that's good.
Right.
Yeah, we got 200 jobs open in town and 36 at the hospital. We need pre-K, we need daycare, we need a lot.
Yeah, but we don't spend on schools. The county does. But we can't, we've already spent on schools. We funded the SRO for many years before the county finally stood up and said yes.
I just like to see us be kinder and more polite conversation with
I
the,
think a resolution is very kind.
Yeah.
It's stating our position. We're not withholding tax money or anything else. Or, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
We're going on record.
all right. Commissioner Steeler made a motion and we have a second. I'll call the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raise your
Aye.
hand.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Thank you. All right, the next item will be closed session.
No, we had to add it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. The budget amendment, the town entry sign frame replacements, Josh Ward.
So we've been looking at this for some time. As you probably noticed, the sign at the dam has been collapsing for a number of months. We shored it up. We had someone that was going to do it for us. They got busy like all other contractors.
These are the ones with the barnwood around it.
Yes. So all the barnwood on all four is completely rotten when we
Yeah,
started
because it's
looking
not
at it.
just the damn one now, it's all.
Yeah, the
of it.
dam one is the only one falling right now, but the rest of them could at any time. So we had someone that was going to work us in and he never could. So Lamar was able to find someone else, took them around earlier in the week, and they can do them with a rust sawn, pressure treated. It's going to last longer, and they'll put some concrete footers in that will keep them from rotting. Most of them have just one, like the downhill side is a concrete footer and the uphill side is not. So we're going to get those put in. So the cost would be $8,000 and he could start, he could order the material.
So it's just the
So,
frame around.
just
all
the
four.
frame.
That's right.
All four.
Yes. The
The signs are
signs,
fine.
at this point, the signs look like they're in good shape.
Yeah.
If they take them down and some of them are not in good shape or fall apart, then we'll have to look at ordering new ones. But
And those are our signs, not the Chamber of Commerce's signs.
I think originally, the Chamber of Commerce may have chipped in some of the funding for that originally when we did the wayfinding.
Yeah, I thought they did.
So
Actually, this would all be a good project.
so it
for the
may be
chamber.
if the signs once the signs are removed, it may be something good for the
go for
chamber
it, Brian.
to fund. So we'll have to look at that once they're taken down.
Yeah, but I'm saying they could fund this whole
Sure.
thing.
If it's $8,000, yeah,
Sure.
it's,
Tourist
Definitely
promotion.
I mean, it's, my memory was, I didn't know how much they did, but it was always part of the chamber did the signs.
And I
I
don't
think
know
it
the
was their
funding.
design anyway.
Right, I don't know the initial funding they'll put in.
Who's the architect, Jeff? It wasn't Weller, it was the other Jeff that did that.
They need to be replaced
Anyway,
as soon as
I don't know.
possible.
Well,
And
can we pass say, we would approve the budget appropriation if But depending on what the chamber comes back with, I mean, they need, like you said, they need to be replaced, but I don't think it would hurt to ask the chamber first.
Well, I don't think it'll hurt to.
This
say
is
it
right
it
up
needs
their
to be
alley.
done. It needs to be done. I think we can ask the chamber afterwards. I think, well, tell us
Yeah.
no, like they've told us no on everything else, but.
Yeah. I
But
think,
I still think it is something that, if I'm not mistaken, originally they had a part in doing
I
that.
think you're right.
Yep.
and I would say this, especially the one on North 64, I don't know if we can delay another.
No, I'm not
No,
talking about delaying it.
I
I'm
think we
saying we
gotta
pass
move
it, but
forward.
then while in the process though, can Josh not call
Okay,
Kay and say, here's the deal?
all right.
I can do
This
that.
is one of those things.
But you're
that
gonna
you
do
say
it
you need help us
regardless.
with, Right?
I'll entertain a motion to capture that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget amendment, but first though, have Josh call over to the visitor center and see if we can't use some of that Visit NC money to refurbish our entry and exit, or not exit signs, but entrance signs.
That's your motion?
Correct.
Yeah, or exit.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Second.
That's a second. Any further discussion?
So
Hearing none.
if they don't fund it, we'll continue. we'll-
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
fund
Well,
it.
well, okay,
Do we do the project? They agree with us, I mean,
Yeah,
tell this contractor.
Yeah. yeah.
He's gonna get paid regardless.
okay.
Then we'll pay.
Therefore, we've got that on, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand saying aye.
Aye.
It carries. And Josh, if you'll get that project underway and coordinate with the chamber. All right. Item number 13, closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6, personnel exception. It'll be a town attorney's search. I will anticipate we might come back into open session after this closed session. Do I have a motion that we go into?
So moved. Go
Okay,
ahead.
all in favor, we're in closed session. Thank you.